I know some of you could be having a lot of highs coming in through this period, while some of you could be facing a lot of lows too. So, guys, to make it a little simple to understand, I'll keep on picking in examples and I'm also going to keep calling out the nuances list so that you understand how this is panning out. You almost feel as if you are invisible to the world. Nobody is giving you due recognition. Your sleep could be disturbed. There could be a unimagined amount of anxiety that can creep into picture. Hi guys, welcome back to Dev Astrology. I had put together the 2026 predictions and many of you came back with a question that Dev, what is your perspective on Sade Sati? Now, I'm one of those guys on YouTube who doesn't like to claim it all. And to be honest, I am still learning. There is a lot of good insights that you guys share with me on on the comment section as well. And there are various perspectives that come across from all of you, which enhances my learning and knowledge. So first of all, thank you for that one as well. Now, I thought since I'm also undergoing this Sade Sati period, and I have been, gaining a lot of understanding, knowledge through experience, as well as, of course, with my knowledge and understanding of the books, the classical texts that I've read, I thought it may not be a bad idea for me to put together a perspective of what I have experienced so far. And potentially, it would give you a broader perspective, especially ones who are navigating Sade Sati like myself. And feel free, guys, to have a collaborative discussion in the comment section. Share in your thoughts as well. I know some of you could be having a lot of highs coming in through this period, while some of you could be facing a lot of lows too. And what I've done through the course of today's video, I've tried to put in certain nuances in place that we must understand. And I'm going to be referring to my notes as well as we walk through this video. Hopefully, these nuances are going to help you pave your understanding better from a Sade Sati standpoint. I'm also going to link in another video that I had created some time back, which gives a detailed understanding of what Sade Sati is all about, because it will be too long a video if we try and capture all of the details of Sade Sati. If you feel worthwhile your time to gauge an understanding what Sade Sati means for you, I will highly recommend you to please check out that video and hopefully it will enhance your understanding at a deeper level. Now, of course, at this point in time, there are three zodiac signs that are going through Sade Sati. First and foremost, Aquarius sign, which is in the last phase of their Sade Sati. They are at the peak of it. The second zodiac is Pisces moon folks, who are, I would like to course correct myself, Aquarius sign is at the setting of Sade Sati in the last phase of it. Pisces, guys, you happen to be at the peak of Sade Sati. It is the middle phase and the initial phase has just begun in 2025 for Aries moon. Very simply, Sade Sati is a 7.5 year duration period, which starts with Saturn coming in 12th to your natal moon. Then the second phase is when it transits roughly 2.25 to 2.5 years later into your Janma moon placement, and then which is on your first house of on top of your natal moon, and then it triggers into the second house from your moon, which marks as the setting of the Sade Sati period. All right. And feel free to get a deeper understanding of Sade Sati. It may not be a bad idea for you to refer to that video first, which is put in the link, before you deep dive into this one, in case you want to have better understanding of what and how it is going to be panning out. Now let's get started, folks. What I've done is that, a lot of you folks were putting in comments that we tend to hear that Sade Sati is going to be a horrific period. It's going to be too difficult to navigate. And I'm already witnessing lots of challenges, loss in career, layoffs coming in, job not working out, health seeing major deterioration during this period, financial losses coming into picture, relationships facing a strain. And then there are people also talking about extraordinary results of Sade Sati coming into picture. Quite commonly, the references of a couple of public celebrities is given, where how they've been able to scale at the biggest heights of their political career or business career, becoming prime ministers, presidents of a country, or ending up running large businesses, transitioning from job into business enterprise segment, and marking a flag of success in those areas too. So definitely there has to be some bit of a deeper understanding, deeper functions at play, which is bringing this diversity in the impact of Saturn. And quite frankly, one might say that Saturn is the is the planet that gives you the outcome of your past life karma, of your past karmas in this life as well, and he's the judge and whatnot. But my agenda with this video was to give a perspective as to how it is going to impact us and what could be the parameters that we could check, understand, research, and come up with an understanding, at least on a self-evaluation basis, to identify the impact for our own chart, for our own natal chart as well. So guys, to make it a little simple to understand, I'll keep on picking in examples, and I'm also going to keep calling out the nuances list so that you understand how this is panning out. Now, the first and the foremost nuance I would say is the Ashtakavarga score of the house in which Saturn is transiting. And I'll take a couple of examples here. Let's consider a Scorpio ascendant, which means number 8 is written in your first house, but a Pisces moon. And therefore, the moon in your natal chart is sitting in the 5th house, albeit you are a Scorpio ascendant. Now, in this case, the relationship of Saturn with your ascendant is not a friendly one. Yes, Mars gets exalted in the sign of Capricorn. However, Saturn's performance in the sign of Aries versus the sign of Scorpio is way different. And to take another example, let's consider Libra ascendant, and in this case as well, let's consider Aquarius as the moon. Both Pisces and Aquarius moon are undergoing Sade Sati. But for Libra ascendant, Saturn happens to be a Yoga Karka planet. Why? Because he is holding the ownership of the 4th and the 5th house, correct? Now, the important bit for you to understand is that multiple things are going to come into picture here. When Saturn is transiting in the 5th house for a Scorpio ascendant with Pisces moon, the house placement of Saturn in itself becomes very challenging for this particular native. Because from here, he is one into the house which is naturally that of Sun. Then he is giving difficult aspects into the 7th house, 11th house, and your 2nd house. Whereas when you look into the peak phase for Aquarius, which was prior to 2025, Saturn was again placed in the 5th house, albeit he was placed in its own sign. And therefore, the comfort level of Saturn in both of these cases being in the 5th house itself, but having the relationship with the natal lord, with your Lagna lord, and the sign placement in itself is causing a lot of difference, which you would have understood by now. However, currently, Aquarius moon with a Libra ascendant seems to be having their Saturn placement in the 6th house. So one thing you will understand again here, that Saturn's 6th house placement is remarkably better when compared to a 5th house placement. But since we are trying to analyze from the first nuance, which is based on the Ashtakavarga score, I recommend you guys to go and check. And you could check this on any of the free Vedic Kundali chart makers, that what is the score that you are getting for that respective house. So once you look into that, any of the bindus or the points that you are getting in that house, if they are equal to or more than 28, the strength of that house becomes much more positive. Then between 24 to 28, it is more so of average in quality, leaning towards bad, and less than 22, less than 24 is definitely negative. If you were to see a more stronger construct, I would say that consider the score 30 as the benchmark for positive results, 24, 25 to 30 as average of sorts, and anything less than that is definitely not so auspicious by nature. Now, Saturn's placement in this situation, in a house, in a 5th house for a Scorpio ascendant, can be challenging and will be challenging in the case of Pisces moon. But if the Ashtakavarga score of your fifth house in your birth chart or wherever your moon is placed when you are evaluating and understanding this video, if it is against those three benchmarks that I've called out, you will accordingly start seeing results of this Saturn's Sade Sati in your life. So if I will pick up the example of Scorpio ascendant, Pisces moon, score is above say 28 or 30. Yes, challenges are going to be there because he's in the fifth house, difficult placement, but the impact of this Saturn will still be tilting towards the positive end of things. If it is between 24 to 30 or 28, then you will see actually negative repercussions because Ashtakavarga score is giving an average outcome, but the fifth house placement in this case with not a Yoga Karaka Lagna is making matters difficult. And if it is lesser than that, lesser than 24, then it's a challenging situation and a lot of you will realize that difficulties are to its pinnacle. I hope that understanding is much more clear. And therefore, a lot of times you would have noticed that a Yoga Karaka planet Saturn for a Libra ascendant and with a Pisces moon is still struggling because somewhere or the other your Ashtakavarga score could be going abysmally bad. Or there could be a negative aspect of a Rahu or Ketu also coming into picture because that will also hamper the impact in your natal chart itself, and therefore the Ashtakavarga score will reflect that bit. So that is the first nuance, guys, that you have to keep in mind, and hopefully it will give you some bit of clarity. And I'm going to trickle down to each of the zodiacs at least from a current situations perspective so that you get more clarity. Now we will head towards the second nuance that is going to come into picture, and this is called as the Moorti Nirnaya, or in very simple plain English terms, it is the situational based decision. And there are certain pecking orders that have been given in the decision making based on Saturn and Moon's placement. You would have heard the terms Swarn Paya, Chandi Paya, Rajat Paya, Tamra Paya, something of that sort. In English, for my larger audience, I'll explain. It's essentially the golden foot, the silver foot, the copper foot, and the iron foot. So there are four classifications of these foots or state at which the comfort with which Saturn is stepping into the Sade Sati phase for you. So how do you calculate and how do you understand that what sort of a footing is there for your respective zodiac sign, your respective moon? Now, one simple understanding, you will have to do a couple of steps to get better clarity. 29th of March 2025, if I remember the dates correctly, is when the transit of Saturn happened in the sign of Pisces. Now, pick any moon that you are. Say you are an Aquarius moon or a Pisces moon or an Aries moon. On 29th, go back to one of these Vedic chart calculators and check what was the position of moon in the transit on 29th of March 2025, depending on your location. You are living in Moscow, Russia, in Beijing, China, in New Delhi, India, in San Francisco, California, where I live, or in New York City, or somewhere in Sao Paulo in Brazil. Check what was the transitory position of moon in your birth chart on 29th of March when Saturn was just at 0 degree entering into the sign of Pisces. And once you've gained that understanding, you will realize that moon would either be in the same house. It would have been placed in the sign of Pisces itself with Saturn, with respect to Saturn. You don't have to count Saturn from moon. You have to count moon from Saturn. So when Saturn entered the sign of Pisces, was your moon in the sign of Pisces and transit that very day, right? If moon is on 1st, 6th or 11th position from Saturn, then Saturn's entry is defined as the golden foot. Okay. And when Saturn is entering on a golden foot, it is considered to be excessively challenging with respect to your emotional and mental or physical drain coming into life. However, it can still give remarkably positive outcomes in terms of financial gains. Now, the second bit comes into picture where Saturn is considered to be entering in a Rajat Moorti or in silver footing. Now, this comes into picture when Moon is second, fifth, or ninth from the placement of Saturn in your chart at that point in time on the transitory date. Okay, and once that is happening, it is considered to be a second decent situation where you will find enough success, fame, positivity, happiness coming in your life. However, it could be crippling you on certain aspects with respect to your family, with respect to the expectations that you are trying to achieve. Got it? The third footing is called as the Tamra footing, Moorti, or the copper footing, where your moon is third, seventh, or 10th from Saturn. And because that third, seventh, or 10th positions is coming into picture, these are the aspects of Saturn as well, if you notice. And this is where the results are usually considered average, because the positioning of Saturn, the entry of Saturn, consider this footing as the mood in which Saturn is getting into your house in that specific phase of Sade Sati. So his mood is shifting as well. He's come to give us lessons in Sade Sati, but his mood is also shifting, and his mood at this point in time is, okay, I'm going to be indifferent. I'm going to give you average results through the course of this period. And the last footing is Loha Moorti or iron footing, where moon is in the 4th, 8th, or 12th. Now, this is how you look into the onset of Dhaiya or Sade Sati as well. From your transit perspective of the moon I'm talking about, I'm continuously repeating this bit, guys. So moon's position from Saturn, and if it is moon is 4th, 8th, or 12th from Saturn on the day of the entry, this is considered to be a lot more difficult and challenging. It is, usually a karaka of bringing in lot of financial stress. Daridrita is the word that has been used in Brihat Parashar Hora Shastra, which is poverty, immense struggle coming into picture. And therefore, this second nuance is going to give you another round of clarity once you look into your chart as to understand as to where and how things are going to be panning out. All right. Now we will enter into the third nuance that I want to highlight here, which is called as the functional nature. And partly I have covered that in your Ashtakavarga bit as well. Now, the functional nature of Saturn will be evaluated based on your Lagna. It is not based on your moon sign only, because Sade Sati you are seeing from your Rashi, from your moon placement. And I will go back to the example of the Libra ascendant with Aquarius moon, Scorpio ascendant with a Pisces moon, or say, a Cancer or a Leo ascendant with a Aries moon. Now, for zodiac signs, zodiac ascendants like a Taurus or a Libra, Saturn is considered to be a Yoga Karaka planet. Because if you see the Taurus sign, Saturn is again getting the ownership of your 9th house and your 10th house, correct? And for Libra, it is getting the ownership of your 4th house and 5th house. And therefore, natural tendency of Saturn in this case is going to be intrinsically not so bad. The second bit from a functional nature of Saturn you have to understand is that with a Leo ascendant or with a Cancer ascendant, Saturn's relationship with the lords in itself is not great, especially with the Leo ascendants that we refer. He's the lord of your 6th and your 7th in your case. And in Cancer ascendant, it is the lord of your 7th and your 8th. So again, he's bringing the ownership of 6th or the 8th in one of these scenarios, which makes things challenging. On the other side of the spectrum, you have to also understand that his relationship with Mercury is neutralish to positive. With Venus it is okay, whereas when compared to Sun, Moon, Mars, it is on the negative side of things. And with Jupiter, he seems to be holding a neutralish sort of position. The other bit within the functional nature that you'll also have to understand is, in your natal chart, look at the ownership of Saturn's houses and his dignity and placement. Is he placed in the 5th house? Is he placed in your Lagna? No matter, even if you are a Libra ascendant and Saturn is exalted in your Lagna, you will still have certain ill effects of debilitated Saturn as well, because that's the natural point of debilitation for Saturn. Aries is where he gets debilitated. So naturally he will give debilitated results, especially his debilitated aspect will be towards your 7th house. So you see how challenging and difficult it becomes that a Libra person with exalted Saturn will mostly struggle with business partnerships, relationships, connections of any sort for that matter. And therefore, the third nuance is where you encompass the natal understanding of your Saturn, its placement, and see how it is going to be acting for you. All right, with that, let's jump towards the fourth nuance, which is the Tara Bal, or it is the strength of the Nakshatra transit that is happening. Now, guys, you all hopefully are aware that there are 27 nakshatras, constellations based on which the analysis is done. The 12 zodiac signs are bifurcated into the 27 nakshatras for that matter. Now, I will some other time build the videos for the nakshatra transits as well, but for simple understanding, and will not complicate this too much here, it is clearly mentioned in Saravali as well, okay, that the impact of Saturn's transit in Sade Sati must be evaluated based on the nakshatra transit and its aspects as well. So the rule says that if Saturn is transiting into the 3rd, 5th, or 7th star from your birth star itself, from your birth Rashi. So to give an example, if your moon is say in Pisces Revati Nakshatra, or if your moon is in Aries in Ashwini, right? From that you have to count the transit of Saturn, and if it is in the 3rd, which is Vipat, in the 5th Pratyak, or in the 7th Nayantara, then you are going to see a impact which is going to be a little bit challenging by nature. It is going to be coupled with difficulties during this phase. Of course, the 3rd, 7th and all, when the Saturn has transited beyond the natal moon. So we are talking from that perspective. From a 2nd, 4th and 6th perspective, when the Saturn is transiting around these nakshatras, then usually it can result into massive success coming in a person's life. And currently it is an Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra. So if you are, let's say, born in Pushya Nakshatra, it is 9th. So it's a friendly relationship that is going to come into picture, and that is how you can evaluate the Tara Bal as well. And the last, the 5th, most crucial, which I keep on repeating in all my transit videos, and I cannot emphasize enough on the 5th nuance, which is the Dasha period that you are going through. Guys, it becomes absolutely critical for one to understand the impact of Dasha, Antardasha, Pratyantardasha in your chart, more so than evaluating the Sade Sati, Daya, or any of those effects. So let's say you are running, first of all, Mahadasha, as I keep on saying, it's like the highway. He's your king. Okay, he is going to chart out the roadmap that you're going to undertake. And the minister is the Antardasha, but the impact usually come based on the relationship between the two. If you are running through a Saturn Mahadasha and Ketu Antardasha, or Rahu Antardasha, Mars Antardasha, or Sun Antardasha, Sun Mahadasha, Saturn Antardasha, Sun Mahadasha, Rahu Antardasha, Ketu Antardasha, you can imagine the kind of impact you will get. Again, you have to go back to understand the relationships that I was alluding to earlier, and there will be temporal relationships also coming into picture in your birth chart based on their placement. Are they sitting 2 and 12 to each other, right? Are they sitting in conjunction? All those things aspect. I will have to literally take a course if I try and cover everything, but the point I'm trying to make is that becomes in fact the most important and crucial point in understanding, because the rest of all the other points I've mentioned, they're all transit based. So it is going to have more of a mass effect. But the Dasha impact, the Dasha period that you are going to have is going to have a more so crucial direct effect of your chart. And imagine if you are a Libra ascendant, as I mentioned earlier, or a Taurus ascendant, Saturn is your Yoga Karaka planet, and you are going through Venus Mercury. I'll not take the easier example of Venus Saturn, Venus Mercury. And let's say you have decent Ashtakavarga scores and stuff, versus you are going through a Ketu Venus or a Venus Ketu. Now in both cases, Saturn is the friend of Venus. He is the Yoga Karaka planet. Yet the outcome in the first is going to be far more rewarding versus the outcome in the second. In the second, it is expected that the results are going to be negative or difficult, but Saturn will still dial down the impact. And now compare a third person who's, let's say, an Aries moon, Aries ascendant, and going through Sun Mahadasha, Ketu Antardasha, or Sun Mahadasha, Saturn Antardasha. Which one would you rate as the worst versus the best versus average? Of course, the first example was the best, second was the average, and the third one is the most tricky bit coming into picture. So I hope, folks, this gives you some understanding on the nuances that you have to, check at your end, that you must navigate before coming into any kind of conclusion as to what sort of an impact Sade Sati could be giving you. And this will help you also understand that nobody is taking you for a ride. You don't have to go anywhere. You can evaluate that by yourself and gauge better understanding. So keeping these 5 nuances, these constructs in mind, if we were to apply some of our understanding of Sade Sati, and I will again highlight this to you guys, please go back and refer to the other video as well that I had shot before. It will give you deeper understanding of things. But I'll pick up the example for Aries, and it is clearly mentioned in, in Saravali. I think it is Jatak Parjata as well, if I remember my readings clearly. But Saravali for sure, I think I remember I had read it long back, that entry of Saturn into the 12th house from your moon. So for you guys, Aries, it is in the 12th house for you right now. And entry of Saturn in the 12th house is going to bring in upvyay and Sthan branch, which means essentially that there is going to be, vyay means spending and upvyay means unnecessary painful spending coming into picture. So that bit is definitely going to happen for you folks. He is the he's the lord of your 10th and 11th. So it is undesired spending coming into the life of a person with the onset of Sade Sati for Aries moon. In the first phase is what you can evaluate, and there is going to be some level of wandering or displacement, or it could be a certain amount of isolation that can trickle in. What you will also feel is that there is going to be a buildup of frustration. You almost feel as if you are invisible to the world. Nobody is giving you due recognition. Your sleep could be disturbed. There could be a unimagined amount of anxiety that can creep into picture. All of that I've seen through reading the books versus living through it. Folks, it's a very different feeling, and I want to be absolutely transparent with you folks. I keep repeating, I don't know it all. So as my life is also giving me these learnings, I'm bringing those experiences in front of you. So you would feel as if, there is so much to do, so many ideas, and sleep is lost. Something is not working out for me. That emotion is going to come into picture. Withdrawal of sorts can come into picture. You might feel as if surrounded by the family members, yet going into your own shell. And somewhere that is going to also expose hidden enemies. Now, what are hidden enemies? Unexpected arrival of some medical issue, unexpected problems coming in, say at your work front, job front, education wise, you were covered the basis, but visa did not work out. You could not go and join your college of your choice. So those sort of issues are usually, coming into picture. And this is the arrival of Saturn. He is knocking on the door. Look into those 5 points and then come to the generic assessment, what you will feel, guys, with the start of it. The good part this time around is, I mentioned in my 2026 readings as well with the Jupiter's aspect and stuff. I'm not going to repeat that here, but definitely have a view of that, and it will give you a lot of clarity. But somewhere or the other, what helped me in my start was, spirituality of sorts, connecting with religion, connecting with my higher self. People who come to me for consultations as well, I never tell them to do any kind of money oriented remedies or buying this thing and throwing something on the river. I don't do those kind of remedies. I'm connected at an atomic level, if I may say, with a larger universe. I genuinely feel that somebody who's listening to me right now would be feeling, yeah, this is the guy. And a lot of people who come to me, they connect with that transparency and emotions. So my thought process again, guys, would be, whatever religion, whatever background, whatever sphere of life you come from, try and find a spiritual purpose, a growth, a spiritual direction in your life. This is going to become absolutely crucial. For me, for example, it is trying to help people to the best of my ability. Whatever little knowledge I have, can I do something of that sorts? Or see if you can support the homeless, sponsor the education of someone. There are so many problems to address, bigger problems than ours, right? But Sade Sati gives you a deeper perspective, and you will start feeling the connect of this. Then moving on to the Pisces folks. Now for you guys, it is coming literally at the heart. They say it starts from the head, it comes to the heart. And Fal Deepika has called out that there is a diseases of the head, or diseases in terms of headaches, hair fall, extreme hypertension, those kind of things coming into picture. Anxiety creeping in, see, that is also head. Your thoughts are full of fear, there is a lot of uncertainty, lack of self-belief, things not working out after repeated efforts, because it's a very strong Visha Yoga which is coming into picture, Pisces. So remember that. And it is going to be a challenging period. It is going to be a demanding period where you could start questioning your own identity. You could start questioning your own worth. Like, what the heck, I was doing everything right and things are not working out. But whatever I've read from the books and whatever I'm trying to fight through in life is that you have to keep your heads down and keep working. I used to keep saying, a year and a half back in my videos, Saturn, bring it on. Maybe he's bringing it on. But we've got to remain focused. This is the time where you will feel as if the hammer is coming to its fullest to break you down, to crush you, divide you into pieces. But that is where you have to, your energy could drop, your lethargy could creep in. Those kind of issues will come into picture. But the difficult bit in this case is that how you keep your morale high, how you remain consistent with hard work. And as many people as I've interviewed, I've discussed, there are so many Capricorn moon guys who've come for their consultations with me. And I tend to take 5 minutes after the 1 hour reading with people, and I interview them as well to share their perspective. And guys, once you sail through this thing, you come across as a refined, different personality altogether. So if you're going through it, this is going to be the period where you are going to feel the worst. There is going to be a complete structural renovation which is going to happen in your life, and you've got to live with it, because he is your 12th and your 11th lord. All right. And last but not the least, for the Aquarius folks, guys, this is the last week for you folks. I think for Aquarius, moon, from a moon chart perspective as well, you can see that Saturn happens to be, a Lagna Lord in itself, or Rashi Lord for that matter. But do consider the previous 5 points. Now, the classical text in Brihat Samhita says that this is going to be a period where loss of wealth will come into picture. But that will be the initial phase of the Sade Sati, of the peak period as well. Okay. The first half of the third phase will be Dhan Nasha, and I'm referring to the notes because I had referred to all these books. I wanted to pull out those items for you. It's going to be that, but it is going to be a fixed and stable wealth development, family growth and stuff as you continue to grow. However, throughout this phase, you are coupled with harsh speech. And a lot of Aquarius guys, just look back into your charts, into your behavior in the last few months. There would have been a curtness in your tone, in the way you are expressing your thought process. You could be very nice as a person, but that change in terms of your speech is definitely coming into picture. This is a period where you will see financial restructuring of sorts, because he is your 12th lord from a moon perspective. Look into the Lagna as well, guys. So that bit is going to come into picture. There will be initial liquidity crunch, but you will bounce back. That is at least what I've read from a book's perspective. Testing time again initially from a family kutumba perspective, but that also seems to be coming back. And the more important golden lining is that it is your Mool Trikon and it is in the setting phase. Usually it tends to pay off stuff in the setting phase unless and until your Lagna and Dasha period, etc. are giving the right indications or not. So guys, I wanted to make a brief video to sum up my experience, my thought process. I didn't, put in some bullet points as well that I wanted to make sure I do not forget and I express them all to you. I hope you acknowledge and you like the genuine attempt that has gone into preparing this video. I try to bear it all from my perspective. In this phase of Sade Sati, it will be remarkably awesome if you guys could smash on that like button, support me with your love, send me your blessings as I continue to put together these interesting videos, continue to put together that fight in my own life as well, share my learnings, bring little bit of that knowledge that I have with me and present to you so that it makes meaning to your life as well. Let's grow together. Let's fight this out together. Om Namah Shivaya. Har Har Mahadev.